So let's just jump right in. What if I told you that there's this tiny little molecule in your body, one that actually won a Nobel Prize, that is absolutely essential for your health, yet most of us have never even heard its name? Well, today we are pulling back the curtain on this unsung hero of our own biology.
And here's why you really need to pay attention. Look at this number, 85%. This is how much your body's ability to produce this critical molecule can plummet between your 20s and your 60s. Yeah, it's a huge, silent decline that has a massive impact on how you feel day in and day out.
So what is this mystery molecule? It's called nitric oxide, or just NO for short. And what it does is actually pretty simple to understand. Think of it like a signaling messenger. The very inner lining of your blood vessels makes it to tell them, hey, relax, open up. And that simple action is the key to healthy blood flow, which, as you know, is critical for pretty much every single organ and system in your body.
Now, this is the part of the story that most people just don't know. We tend to think of these major health shifts as something that happens way down the road. You know, old people problems. But the science is pretty clear that this decline starts way, way earlier than any of us realize.
Let's just walk through the numbers. When you're in your 20s, you're at peak performance, 100%. But look what happens. By the time you hit your 30s, you're already down to 80%. Get to your 40s, you've lost half your capacity. And by your 60s, you could be operating with as little as 15% of the nitric oxide you had in your youth. This isn't some gentle slope, it's more like falling off a cliff.
Okay, so those are just numbers on a screen, right? But what does this really feel like? What does it mean for your actual health? Because this isn't just an abstract concept. It has real-world consequences that a lot of us might just be blaming on getting older.
You know those little things you might just brush off? Like, why are my hands and feet always so cold? Or that afternoon brain fog that just hits you like a brick wall. Maybe you've noticed your stamina isn't quite there, or it takes you longer to bounce back after a workout. These are all really common, everyday signs that could be pointing to reduced blood flow. And maybe, just maybe, that your nitric oxide levels aren't what they used to be.
Okay, I want to take a moment and speak directly to the women watching. Because while this topic is for absolutely everyone, the statistics show that for women, understanding cardiovascular health isn't just important, it's absolutely critical. It's a need to know.
Just take a look at this. We hear a lot about other major health threats, and for good reason. But cardiovascular disease is responsible for 1 out of every 3 deaths in women. Now compare that to breast cancer, which is 1 in 32. There's a massive awareness gap here, and frankly, it's putting women's lives at risk.
And just to really drive this point home, check out this stat from Ireland. Women there are 6 times more likely to die from cardiovascular disease than from breast cancer. It is the #1 killer of women, plain and simple. Yet so few of us are really aware of how big the threat is.
All right, so that's the tough part. But here's the good news. We are not helpless here. We have a lot of control. And it all starts with the foundations, the stuff we all know is good for us. What we eat, and how we move our bodies. This is ground zero for supporting your body's own natural ability to produce nitric oxide.
So your body's pretty smart. It actually has 2 main ways to make nitric oxide. One way is by converting things called nitrates from foods like beetroot, spinach, and arugula. The other way is by using an amino acid called L-Arginine, found in things like nuts, seeds, and turkey, as a direct building block. So a healthy diet is a fantastic start, but some people want to know how to get more targeted support.
So let's talk about what that next level support actually looks like. We're going to use a really well-researched formula called Pro-Arginine Plus as our example, just to see what a high-quality, top-tier approach to this really involves.
So the first thing you look at is potency. For instance, to get about 3,600 milligrams of that key L-Arginine from your food, you'd have to eat a pretty hefty 7-ounce serving of shrimp. On the other hand, a single sachet of Pro-Arginine Plus gives you a full 5,000 milligrams of pure pharmaceutical-grade L-Arginine. It's just a much more potent and direct way to get that key ingredient.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This quote comes from something called the Physician's Desk Reference, or the PDR. For over 70 years, this has been like the go-to guide for doctors, and they are the ones who called this specific formula the highest quality L-Arginine supplement in the world. That is a seriously powerful third-party endorsement. So then you ask, well, is there any proof? Another key pillar is clinical evidence. In a study at the High Desert Heart Institute, they took 33 high-risk heart patients and gave them this exact formula. The results were published, and they showed noticeable improvements in blood pressure, a 16% increase in blood flow to the extremities, and maybe most importantly, their quality of life scores went up significantly. They just felt better.
But what's really cool is that the science goes beyond just L-Arginine. Researchers discovered that the unique blend of ingredients actually does more than L-Arginine can do on its own. For example, it helps block an enzyme that gets in the way of nitric oxide production, and it helps reduce the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, that's the bad cholesterol. It's a perfect example of how the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts.
And of course, you have to talk about quality and safety. This product is actually on the Cologne List, which is a huge deal. It means it's been tested and certified clean and safe for Olympic athletes. Every single batch goes through hundreds of quality tests in a state-of-the-art facility that's certified to meet the highest federal standards for production and safety.
So you might be thinking, okay, who is this actually for? And honestly, the answer is probably a lot broader than you'd think. This isn't just for one specific group. It's about being proactive with your health, no matter what stage of life you're in.
Women, especially in that 30 to 60 age range, are a huge focus, really supporting that heart health and daily vitality. For men, a lot of the interest is around performance and stamina. And you know what's really interesting? We're seeing more and more young adults using it proactively to get ahead of that natural decline we talked about.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground. So where do you go from here? The whole goal of this was to arm you with information so you can feel empowered and take control of your own health journey.
So here is a super simple, responsible action plan. Step 1, keep learning. Do your own research. Step 2, and this is the most important one, have a conversation with your doctor or healthcare provider. And step 3, if you want to dive deeper into anything we've talked about today, check out the information we've linked for you in the description below.
And I really have to be crystal clear about this. This content is for educational purposes only. It is not, and I repeat, not medical advice. Before you even think about starting any new supplement, you absolutely must talk to your doctor. Your health is a team effort between you and them.
I want to leave you with this really powerful statement from Dr. Louis Ignarro, the man who won the Nobel Prize for this discovery. He said, "We can reverse cardiovascular damage with nitric oxide." Just let that sink in for a moment. That single sentence is filled with so much hope and so much potential.
So I'll just end with this final thought for you to carry with you. Now that you know about this one incredible molecule, and you know how its production declines over time, what will you do to support it? The power to take that next step is truly in your hands.